Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany David, and I work in the mayor's office as the director of the Neighborhoods First initiative. I'd like to personally thank all of you for coming out this evening to hear the mayor's updates and new developments citywide, but specifically in your community here in the South End. We have refreshments for you to enjoy. And I also wanted to make a note that the policy in the city is that everyone must wear a mask indoors. And I have masks here for everyone if you require one. And I'd like to turn it over to Mayor James.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that very lengthy introduction. It looks like you took all day to prepare it. I truly appreciate that. In any event, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here. As Tiffany said, I just wanted to come by, share a few words of update on where we are with not only the city, but with your neighborhood. And I'll be doing this around the city over the course of the next month or so. You know, some of you may recall that we used to have mayor's neighborhood meetings in City Hall. With COVID, we discontinued those. We're going to resume those later this year. But I thought it would be good for me to get out into the various neighborhoods as we begin that process to talk to you and also hear from you as to what concerns, priorities you might have. We do have the district commissioner here, Commissioner Lambert. You want to stand and wave and let everybody know? I have to tell you that you have one of the finest commissioners on the dais. She is very passionate about this neighborhood, and she is a very capable advocate for your interests. So you should be very proud that she is on the dais working hard for the South End. She works, of course, for the entire city, but she does a wonderful job of making sure that the interests and concerns of your district are brought forward. I don't see any of the other commissioners. I will grant in absentia congratulations to Kathleen Ward, who won the election last night, and I think will also be a very good addition to the commission. We will miss Commissioner Shelf, but I think I know Kathleen Ward will be doing well. So I hope you and yours are well and that you're safe. I'd like to get a sense of the audience that I have. Oh, before I go any further, forgive me. We have County Commissioner Greg Weiss here. Greg, stand. And thank you for coming, sir. Greg has been a good friend of the city on the County Commission. And we have collaborated on a number of topics of interest, but it's good to have him on the County Commission, so thank you for your service, sir. But I'd like to get a sense as to the audience, and the reason I ask that is, as many of you know, and we'll get into it later, we've had a tremendous amount of growth in our city in recent times. So if you've lived in West Palm Beach for 10 years or more, hold up your hand. All right, that's a very good representation. If you lived here for 5 years or less, hold up your hand. All right, and if you lived here for less than 2 years, hold up your hand. Welcome. Okay, so it looks like the majority is probably those who have been here for 10 years or more, which is fine. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to dive in first to talking about developments in the city as a whole. I gave my State of the City address about a month ago, and had an audience of over 750 people in the convention center. But I do want to share with you some items I think which might be of particular interest, and then we'll pivot into what's going on here at the South End. I have articulated, and in fact I started articulating even during my campaign for mayor back in 2019, my vision for the city. And that vision is simply, I want to make West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all. A community of opportunity for all. We have worked during my administration to create a city that incubates and attracts economic growth and development. We've worked hard to enhance the quality of life. But to me, it is so important that all this growth that we are realizing is inclusive. You know, West Palm Beach has had economic booms before, but unfortunately, historically, there have been certain communities, certain neighborhoods that have been left out and left behind. And I am very intentional about doing whatever I can, whatever my administration can, to ensure that this growth that we are experiencing, very pleased with it, but that the benefits of that growth is inclusive and spans, includes all neighborhoods. You know, the last 2 years have been obviously very interesting. I often say that COVID was 1918, 1928, and 1968 all wrapped up in one. 1918, which was the last great pandemic that beset our country. 1928 was the inception of the Great Depression, so we had tremendous economic upheaval. And of course, 1968, we had tremendous social justice upheaval. And we were fortunate as a country, that's being sarcastic, to have all of those stars align in 2020. But, you know, despite some of the darkest hours that this city, that this nation has seen, many of us may have lost loved ones, and certainly all of us saw others struggling to survive in this city. I do believe that once it's all said and done, once the history books are written, it will show that this city made a statement about its future, about its character, and about itself. And I think we will come out of this, we are coming out of this stronger than ever before. So we made key improvements, quality of life improvements in the area of public safety, education and infrastructure, housing, the environment in our neighborhoods, as well as the business-friendly environment that is attracting more and more businesses to our community. In fact, fun fact, West Palm Beach ranked among the top 100 best places to live in America by an organization called livability.com. But let me talk about some of those categories of work. I often say that public safety is job number one, no matter what neighborhood you live in, no matter what your zip code, what your skin color is, you deserve to live in a safe, secure environment. The most important job for a municipal leader is to ensure that the neighborhoods, the city is safe. And I'm happy to report that in 2021, the city experienced a 16% decrease in crimes against persons, which was the lowest reported rate in 20 years. Last year, murders decreased 22% from 2018. While, in my view, any murder of a person in our city is too many, we are making progress in that area. I've made tremendous progress since I assumed the reins of leadership. And I would attribute most of that to the work of not so new anymore, but the new police chief that I appointed, Frank Garrett, who's done a wonderful job. And by the way, Frank will be speaking to the South End at his quarterly police chief meeting, which will be on March 16th at 6 p.m. at the Cox Science Center building, 2801 Trail North, and he'll give you more details about specific activity in the South End. But it's not limited to just the actions of our men and women in blue. It's certainly our firefighters have done a yeoman's job. Last year, they responded to a record 30,000 calls in just a year. 30,000 calls. Public safety also extends to how we responded to the pandemic. With the help of Commissioner Weiss and others at the county, we were able to set up a vaccination and testing site at Gaines Park, and a number of people were able to get tested and or vaccinated there. That too was part of the public safety response. Let's talk about growth. You probably have noticed that West Palm Beach has grown a bit in the last 18 to 24 months. Let me give you some statistics. We, the city, my administration assisted with the relocation or expansion of 12 new companies to West Palm Beach, which added more than 1,300 highly compensated jobs just last year. The sectors that were represented by the companies either relocating here or expanding here included financial services, tech, construction, and multimedia. We received $3.9 million in business tax receipts last year, which is also a record for the city. Even in the midst of the pandemic, building permit revenues increased in 6 consecutive quarters. And we had 6 Class A office projects that are now in the pipeline. To give you some perspective, between 2008 and 2019, there were no Class A office projects even begun. And just generally, we have about $3 billion in construction projects that are in various stages of completion. So we have, and I'm sure you all recognize, probably had some phone calls and knocks on doors about your own property, a very robust property market, driven by unprecedented wealth migration and relocations. I think I mentioned when I was here before, I was at a holiday party in El Cid neighborhood in December. And the president of the association advised me that in El Cid, and last year they had 40% turnover in homeownership there. El Cid was one of the older, more established neighborhoods, and that was a tremendously unusually high amount of turnover, which is one reason why I asked the question that I did earlier, how long people have lived here, because the demographics of our city are changing. In the El Cid neighborhood alone, more younger families are moving in. It used to be that was an area for middle-aged or older people, but our demographics are changing. We added 2 new hotels last year that will add 300 rooms, which gives us even better positioning as the convention center of the city, and realizing the return of tourism to the city. And even small businesses are enjoying a significant rebound. I brag about the response of our city to COVID-19. We were the first local municipality to actually provide financial assistance to small businesses that were adversely impacted by COVID-19. It's not like we had a line item in our budget that said pandemic response or COVID-19 response, but my staff is very creative, and I like to say overturning social pillows and looking under the mattress to find the money to help these small businesses that were in such dire need. Another fact that demonstrates how the city is watching out for small businesses. In the last fiscal year, fiscal 21, 13.7 million of the total competed dollars, those are dollars where there's a competition for the contract from the city. 13.7 million of those dollars, which is about 20% of city contracts that were awarded in 2021, went to small businesses. Mobility, I know, is of concern to a number of people, and we continue to work on ways to more efficiently and safely move people and not just cars throughout the city. There was a task force recently formed, including representatives of the public sector and the private sector, to look at mobility and transportation in a more global, comprehensive fashion around the region. It really can't just be West Palm Beach, our city, doing something. We need to work hand in hand with our partners at the county and with neighboring municipalities to come up with solutions. And we will, and I like the fact that the private sector is also at the table, because I think they recognize that the more robust mobility options that are available, the more attractive the city becomes to potential residents. In 2021, we also had announcements from two major universities that they wanted to do business with the city of West Palm Beach. I'm sure you all have heard about the discussions about the University of Florida coming here and setting up a urban campus. And again, thank you, Commissioner Rice, for your support of that effort. And this will be a joint effort of the county and the city to attract the university. They're going to set up an urban campus just right in our downtown. It's not an undergraduate campus. They'll be offering postgraduate programs in the areas of financial technology, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and cybersecurity. In fact, not too long ago, the University of Florida announced an alliance with IBM to do some work with the university at their campus. I'm sure many of you recall that IBM invented the PC right here in Palm Beach County, down in Boca. So to have them return, along with the University of Florida, would be a very good thing. That would be very exciting. It is going to be. I'm going to speak positively about it because I do believe that we'll have it. To have the presence, I think they're the number 5 rated public university in the nation. To have a university of that stature and that caliber setting up facilities and operation right here in West Palm Beach. I rode up to Gainesville with County Commissioner, who's the mayor, David Kerner, and we, at his invitation, he had this great idea that he was going to invite the University of Florida to set up shop here in Palm Beach County, in West Palm Beach, and wanted me to join him in that effort. And I said, why not? I didn't know. I'm not even sure David knew what our prospects of success were. But as my mother used to say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So we made the trip, and we had dinner with the president of the university, Ken Fox, and some of his team. Talked to them a bit about the attributes of West Palm Beach. And at that dinner, both of us formally invited President Fox to consider West Palm Beach as a location for an urban campus. And lo and behold, he didn't accept on the spot. Not like it was when I asked my wife to marry me. I mean, it took him a while. So. But anyway, he ultimately accepted our invitation, and the wheels have been turning since then. I know they had a request into the state legislature for about $100 million. And at last I checked this morning, that amount was still in the budget. The budget hasn't been finalized yet, but that $100 million is still in the budget. So fingers crossed, they will get that money, and their obligation is to match that with private contributions. So this is progressive. I'm very optimistic, extremely optimistic, that we will have a University of Florida presence in West Palm Beach. It does a couple of things. It helps us at a couple of levels. One is now there will be a talent pipeline, if you will, that these companies that are looking to move to West Palm Beach or establish a presence in West Palm Beach can tap into in the areas in which classes will be offered. Again, financial technology, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and cybersecurity. So if they're looking for talent in those areas, they can certainly have some assurance and comfort that there's a talent pipeline. But the second thing it does is it makes West Palm Beach a more attractive community for those students who might have otherwise considered moving to New York or to Boston or to San Francisco to pursue different job opportunities. So, and I know this term is probably overused, but it could be a real game changer for our city. So stay tuned. And we also were approached by a university in Tallahassee. No, it wasn't Florida State, but right down the road, Florida A&M University, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, has begun a partnership with the city. They want to create agricultural programs and opportunities. We've identified 3 areas where they can start community gardens in what is known as food deserts, in areas where there are not a convenient location for grocery stores. And it provides the citizens living in those neighborhoods and provide them with access to affordable health food options. So that's very exciting. This will be their first presence in a city this far south. And so the mere fact that we've had 2 major educational institutions looking to set up shop in West Palm Beach speaks volumes. You know, I mentioned earlier about the impact of COVID and what it meant both from a public health standpoint and an economic dislocation, if you will, disruption standpoint. We're all familiar with that. But I know you all remember the spring of 2020 when there were cries in the streets, not just in West Palm, not just in Palm Beach County, not just in Florida, but indeed all over the world for social justice in the wake of the George Floyd murder, Ahmaud Arbery, and a host of others. People were thirsty for a reaction from leaders as to what would be done to make our society more just. I thought long and hard as to how I, as the mayor of the city, would respond. You know, there were a number of communities, cities that said we need to have conversations about race. Well, people weren't really meeting in person during that time. I didn't think the idea of a Zoom call or 2 with a conversation about race would be a sufficient response. So I, after thinking long and hard, formed a task force, my mayor's task force on racial and ethnic equality, which for the first time in this city's history created a roadmap for us toward meaningful and transformative change. Identified 23 residents or citizens of the city either living here or working in the city. And they devoted, it was chaired, co-chaired by the head of the Urban League, Patrick Franklin, and a very fine attorney, local attorney, Michelle Diffendorf. They co-chaired this. And there were 5 pillars that they were looking at. And their charge in each of these pillars, and I will identify them in a moment, but their charge was to look at this city's history in each of these areas and take an honest and frank appraisal of the city's history and how West Palm Beach had performed, or didn't perform, if you will, in these areas, of education, workforce development, finance, banking, and business, health, real estate, housing, and criminal justice. Those 5 areas were the pillars. But once they finished their historical review of the city's performance in each of these areas, I told them, don't stop there. It's one thing to recognize your history. I think you should acknowledge the history and be very honest about the history. Without knowledge of your history, you're doomed to repeat it. But the mission was then to identify, do the research and identify best practices from other communities, other municipalities around the nation. How have other cities responded? What are some best practices that we can borrow here in West Palm? And that's what, and then the final part of the mission was to report out to the commission and myself on their findings. I see Bill Jacobson here. I know he was a member of the task force. Are there any other members of the task force here? Please hold up your hand. Thank you for your service. Dina, I see you there. and you know, we had subcommittees in each of these areas as well. So there were a number of volunteers that were involved. So they did report out, and the priorities that were selected by the commission, short-term priorities, target programs toward financial education, financial literacy and entrepreneurship with a focus on youth and young adults, midterm, leverage business, philanthropic and private partnerships, and offer incentives to businesses to support workforce development and education programs. And then long-term, we want to start a pilot of a crisis intervention team to work alongside police officers as the officers respond to mental health calls. We think that would be a good thing to do to diffuse sometimes some very heightened emotional situations. So short term is defined as coming up with a result within 1 to 2 years, and midterm 2 to 5, and long term even more. I'm going to try. It's my intent to try to get moving on all of these priorities initially. I am up for re-election in about a year, and if I'm fortunate to be re-elected, we will certainly prioritize those. But the work of the task force was truly extraordinary, and again, I think each and every one of the task force members, it was volunteer. And you know, once I put out the call for assistance, the response was overwhelming, and it was really difficult to winnow it down. Obviously, we wanted diversity, ethnicity, race, gender diversity, sexual preference as well. So, and I think we have a very good group. Another program that I'm starting, I was selected by this group called UNA, which is founded by a former mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu, which is now the infrastructure czar in the White House. But he started this group UNA, and it was designed to address racial inequities in the South. So they selected elected officials from different cities in the South. I was fortunate to be selected here in West Palm Beach. Each of us was awarded $75,000. So the program that we're putting together is a pilot which is aimed to support entrepreneurs who have been historically excluded from access to capital, and basically to help fill the gaps in our local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Entrepreneurs of color, black and brown entrepreneurs, often are left behind because they just can't get the capital. So in our first year, we'll kick off, in fact, I've got a kickoff meeting next week. It will include 3 10-week cohorts. Each cohort will have 10 participants. And I'm happy to share, Dina, that we will be offering a Spanish language cohort in the first year. attract those individuals who are from the Hispanic community. And so we will take them to two steps. One is first financial literacy, helping them to learn the basics of the financial literacy and improving their credit score. And the second portion of that will take them through 2 weeks, 10 weeks, just the basics of owning and operating a business, and a carrot that we will dangle at the end of the stick to encourage them to continue to fight through those 10 weeks, because many of them may have other jobs, they may be single parents, and this is not just an easy thing. It's going to require some effort on their part, but the carrot will be a significant grant that they can now take and use as to start their business. So that's a general overview of some of the positive things that have been happening in the city. I'm not going to sugarcoat. We do have challenges in the city. I alluded to the robust real estate market earlier. In many ways, we are a victim. We, the city, are a victim of our own success here. We're growing tremendously, but creating an inventory of housing that's affordable remains a challenge. And I said it that way, as opposed to affordable housing, as opposed to workforce housing, because really, finding housing for mid-level managers, people making, $100,000 or so, that's still difficult. We don't have that inventory. And I've told my team that if we fail to get ahead of this issue, this tremendous growth trend that we've been on will come to a screeching halt, because companies will not move here if they don't feel that they can find housing that's affordable for their employees. The C-level suite folks, they could find a place over on the island or south of Southern, which is becoming hot now. But where does their administrative assistant live? Where do some of their lower mid-level managers live? And so that's the challenge that we're going to confront, and we're continuing to work on that. But let's talk about the South End, and we do have some exciting things happening out here. Now, I'm going to go through this, and then I'm going to open up for 15 or 20 minutes of questions and answers. I do want to hear from you. Very excited to announce that 8111, you all know what that particular property is, immediately adjacent to the golf course. Final negotiations with the top 3 proposers are scheduled this week, and we're looking at it. And I have to say that we've got some great proposals. And any one of those 3, I think you as a citizens and residents of South End would be very, very proud of. So stay tuned for that. Flagler repaving, I know that has been on a number of people's minds for a long time. I get the emails, the phone calls. So we're going to start soliciting bids in the middle of next month, and we're expecting actual work to commence on the repaving in the early fall of this year, early this fall. So a few more months, and we'll start seeing some action on Flagler. Now it's probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want us to repave it, you're going to have to put up with the discomfort of having to take detours, but that is certainly on the way. We continue to address the coastal flooding that results from sea level rise from heavy rain events, and so by installing tidal valves, and so we're getting some more tidal valves and having some additional storm drain outfalls to address that issue. We're very aware, both at the north end and certainly here in the south end. Phipps Park, the city commission approved a design for the new concession stand and restrooms, and those bids will go out in late spring, and we expect construction of the new concession stand and restrooms to begin this winter. So stay tuned. We're also refurbishing the racquetball and handball courts and putting new lighting and fencing on the north end of Phipps Park. Actually, that's been completed. We refurbished racquetball and handball courts and added new lighting and fencing on the north end. So that work has already been completed. Much of that is financed through our penny sales tax, which helped us to do a number of different projects throughout parks in the city. And the West Palm Golf Park, we're very, very excited about that, led by Seth Wall and the West Palm Golf Community Trust. If you don't know Seth, he heads the PGA. And that golf course is coming along. We're expecting the course to be completed later this year in the fall, and the clubhouse to be completed early next year. But that finally is becoming a reality. Now they're telling me, they said that the golf course is going to be a bucket list course. I said, what does that mean? They said, Mayor, it's the type of course that everyone's going to want to play. It's going to be under a bucket list for courses to play. So let's hope so. But more importantly about the golf course, and I've had a number of conversations with Seth, and this relates to my vision of making West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all. More importantly, the programming will be to a lot of programming geared toward our youth. And it will expose them not only to the game of golf, but to industries and job potentials in related industries, whether it's horticulture or golf course maintenance or things like that, just to give the kids an exposure to what else is out there. So we're very excited about that. The Cox Science Center in Dreher Park is has embarked upon a multi-million-dollar capital campaign. They had a gentleman who donated $25 million, hence the name Cox. His last name is Cox. If you spend $25 million, you too can get your name on a science center. But no, we're very appreciative to that. Again, if you haven't been to the Science Center recently, I encourage you to go. The programs they have for children there, and they work very closely with the public schools throughout the city and throughout the county, is eye-opening. And I had a conversation with Henry Cox when we announced his gift. And I told him that his gift was going to lead to an opportunity, you never know in which child an inspirational flame will be ignited by a visit to the Science Center, just by seeing the possibilities. It could be the next Einstein, who knows? All right, those possibilities exist, and so as they expand that, it would be very exciting. Now, let's bring it home in terms of what can help you as residents. We are working on, in fact, we are beta testing now, something called WPB Key. WPB Key. That's going to be the app that now becomes a single point of contact. If you have an issue, a concern, a question, you will be able to access the city through this app. In effect, it's going to be a revamping of the 822 number, which I know so many of you have gotten frustrated with. And that was one of the first things I wanted to do under my administration, is to enhance the customer service experience by changing or revamping or upgrading that 822 number. All right, so WPB Keys, we're beta tasting that now. Citizens will be able to access the city by phone, by website, or by an app available in Google and Apple App Stores. Thank you, Commissioner. It's good to have you. Listen, she knows. Because if people can't get their issues resolved via 822, they end up contacting me or they contact the commissioner. One of the advantages of having this technology, it would enhance the customer service experience, because now we will be able to identify when a request for service came in. We'll be able to track how long it takes to respond to that request. And my charge to the team is I want it to be so that within 24 hours you at least have an acknowledgement of receipt. You may not have the resolution, but someone will get back to you with email or something, let you know we do have your request. It's in the system. We're working on it. And then we're working on a dashboard. Eventually it'll be outward facing, but it will certainly be inward facing for staff so we can start monitoring how long it takes to respond. And the other thing is, we'll be able to identify with data what some of the more frequently asked questions were, right? So if we start getting a number of questions about why is there flooding on Flagler, I'm just picking something out, whatever the answer is that we've developed as a team internally, now rather than you having to be thrown into a loop, maybe the person picking up the phone or responding to your request by can simply give you that response immediately. So it's going to help us become a more effective customer service organization. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, as public servants, we serve you. So I'm doing everything I can to make our city more efficient in that regard. That's what you deserve, and so we're working on that. But we have had some successes under the Neighborhoods First program, which Tiffany David has headed up. Under her leadership, we started something called Operation Clean Streets. Operation Clean Streets. I was getting frustrated with the amount of illegal dumping that goes on in parts of our city. So through Operation Clean Streets, there were 9 arrests where, believe it or not, we removed 178,000 pounds of illegally dumped material last year. That is amazing. That's, if my math is correct, over 22 tons of stuff that people felt it was okay to just dump in our city. So we have an award system out there. We've boosted our security in those areas which are known to be illegal dumping sites. I won't go into details about the security, but believe me, we're making progress and we're paying attention to that. And so, listen, I'm going to close now because I do want to give you all the opportunity to ask questions. But in closing, I do want to leave you with the thought that West Palm Beach is indeed becoming a birthplace of opportunity. We're at a serious inflection point in our city's history. The attention, the growth, and what we're working for as an administration, as I said, is to make sure that growth is inclusive. But as we identify issues and concerns, we want to be proactive. I don't want us to be in a reactive mode. I want to try to, we have the opportunity now to anticipate what some of the issues are and hopefully start working on solutions that we roll out. But we must maintain the momentum. We must maintain the momentum. So stay in touch, stay healthy, go to our newsletter. If you don't get our newsletter, let Tiffany know, WPB.org Insider. And now I'll open up for any questions you may have. Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, I have a question. Tiffany, can you bring me some water, please? Sorry, I'm dying with thirst. Yes, ma'am. You'll stand up.
And we've lived in our house for almost 34 years. We have seen Olive Avenue change over the years. The traffic is horrendous.
Yeah.
I took films, if you'd like to see them today. The average speed I have followed people is 50 miles an hour.
Even with the ramps and stuff?
There's no
on Olive?
There is nothing to stop these people. It's a speedway. This afternoon, I was there at 4 o'clock taking the film. You can tell how fast they're going by the way they go from one corner to the next one. And the sound. There was one person who was doing maybe 30. It looked like he was dragging himself through the street. Is there any way? I know you cannot have the police out there. That's impossible. Impossible.
Not every day.
Exactly.
What we have done, and the question is, by the way, speeding on Olive Avenue, is there anything that could be done to address that? There are other streets in our city, Australian Avenue, North Lake, where we have similar complaints. And what the police will do, I don't want to give away too many of their secrets, but they'll do a study, and they'll, with their equipment, will try to assess what the average speed is using their equipment, and they try to go to those streets that have the biggest problem. So I will, Tiffany's taking notes on that. I will mention to the police chief and see if they can, at the minimum, at least do a study, a speed study, to see if that, what they can do to
Is
remedy that
there
problem.
any chance, because I know some areas of South Island, north of Southern, have those bumps like in front of the school right here. People can't speed.
So what part of Southern are you talking? I mean, of Olive are you talking?
We're exactly 6 blocks south of Southern, the northwest corner, 305 Murray.
So you have to give your, we're being recorded, so I don't want you to put your address in there. But, so south of Southern, Olive, speed ramps. Okay, we will check. And there's a process for getting speed ramps, and you have to contact your neighbors. But if you leave your email address, please, with Tiffany, we will get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, another question. Dina?
What are the possibilities of the Boys and Girls Club moving into the South End?
The question is, what are the possibilities of the Boys and Girls Club moving into the South End? I've heard some rumors that they are looking at a site or sites in the South End. It's not a done deal yet. You might want to contact, I think her name is Jamie, I can't remember Jamie's last name, who was executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, and ask her directly. But I've heard similar rumors that they are looking at some sites in the South End. And it sounds like they have a benefactor that is very interested in that. Over here. Yes, ma'am.
The same question as the lady in the first row, speeding on Forest Hill Boulevard, the 300 block.
Speeding on Forest Hill Boulevard.
Yes, and it has been given to the city.
Okay.
Many years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And we have written letters to the city engineer at the time, maybe 5 years, 6 years ago. No response, so I really appreciate your remarks that you will look into it, and we will probably come in the force from our neighborhood. to
That's
this
fine.
meeting, because we have appreciated, I tell you, I have been over 30 years resident. Although I have an accent, I work overseas, so I.
It's okay. It's okay.
But we have had a program, we have dogs killed, 2 dogs. There are 2 families, at least, and maybe 3 families on the 300 block with children from 4 to 11.
Okay.
And there is a pedestrian crossing right east of the city, the drugstore. People have to wait there. There is a handicapped man who tries to occasionally cross. He has to wait 5 minutes because nobody gives it there. This
Okay.
is really upsetting.
All right.
And
So,
we would like to, something is done. And we used to have more police officers coming to the SINA meeting. Last time, there was Officer Buxton here. He gave us the flyer, so we will obviously try to raise the interest of the police to do something. If there would be a bumper or some speed around the road,
I don't know if you're going to get a speed bump on Forest Hill. Yeah, I don't think we'll do that. But anyway, we just like we did, I will try to talk to the chief and see if they can at least do a speed study on Forest Hill, which will give them a sense with firm data as to the percentage of cars that are in the average speed that's going. But we make sure Tiffany has your name and email address, okay?
I want to tell you that there was a drunk little bus. I was out of the country at that time. They took care of it. I didn't have a secret at the front of the house. The bus would be in my house.
Okay, so almost an accident. Okay. Thank you. We will look into that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just wanted to ask what we're doing to ensure that we don't have the blue-green algae problems that we've had in the past. West Palm and Okeechobee are only 2 cities in the state that have open-air water treatment facilities, and they're the only 2 cities that really run into this problem. And given the growth in the city and how much tax revenue is coming, proven by the doubling of my property taxes, I want to ensure
And thank you for that question. The question was, what are we doing to avoid having blue-green algae in our water? Let me tell you, we've never had blue-green algae in our water. We may be referring to an incident we had last spring with something that is called cyanospora. It is an element that isn't even on the regulated elements, but we did send out a notice to certain affected communities. In the wake of that incident, I appointed a blue ribbon panel to help advise us as to what policies, what we could do to make us more resilient. We've never been subject to blue-green algae, so I want to make sure that even some of these elements that pre-exist blue-green algae that we aren't required to test for, but we did, we won't have a repeat of that. So they're reporting out to us in a workshop in 2 weeks, and we'll hear from that expert panel. And they will tell us, and these are people from all over the country who are experts in water treatment, also familiar with surface water systems, which is what we have. And we will look at their recommendations and see where we can do even better. But I can assure you that 99.9% of the time, our water is safe to drink and safe for your pets to drink. So we will continue to be better. We're not perfect, but we will continue to work hard to be better. So we're expecting to get a report out from that expert panel in 2 weeks, and I'm sure there will be media coverage of that. But thank you for your question. Another question? Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm sorry, one back there, and Tiffany, come up here. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I live in the Dow Park, and our association president recently met with department representatives, and I'm wondering what the status is of replacing the sign with Lovely Community Center, which apparently is down and something like this.
And this is in Dreher Park?
No, the Dow Park.
Okay.
And so apparently I was told some vandals and
Okay.
and so the sign is replacing, and also, like the other beautiful parks in the city, we're supposed to have a new playground. And I just wondered what the timeline is on that, because we were told it was going to start January.
Okay. We will check into both of those issues and get back to you promptly. Thank you for the question. All right, up here we have a question.
I'm actually a resident of the Freezer Block as well.
Okay.
I'm super concerned because trying to be solution-based. We have an ongoing issue with our building commissioners helping us with the property where we have illegal childcare business, illegal parking, and I think kind of jumping off everything that Laura's also brought up is we're being compounded by the fact that our speed is, we have posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour, but it's posted before the residential area begins, like the CES. Dixie, so as a result, cars are being kept light. We are seeing speeds of this 50. On a Friday night, this is car racing, you'll see 60, 70 miles. It's all day. The only really we get is not quite honestly around 4 or 5 p.m. after the cell phone gets out. There's 3 families with small children. Less than a week ago, another animal was hit and killed that was unnecessary just by speed. I mean, it's becoming a safety issue for people, especially residents that have children that are coming to South Hall that is they do not feel comfortable allowing them to walk to school or bike because they're who stand at the crosswalk or they'll be crossing and cars will just go and they're not just even 30 helping by those people and they're flying. And we're the only section of Forest Hill that has that dotted line being illegal for people to pass. So you're transferring into your actual house where cars are actually going to the speed limit, they're going around into oncoming traffic and they're going at such a ridiculous speed that it's just becoming an increasing safety issue. And so residents as a result, it's causing this issue where they don't feel comfortable parking second cars or whatever their parking situation can be on the actual road. They're parking on the front lawns, they're parking in the sidewalks. And so you have to make it such that as a pedestrian, you have people with families that you're not going to go into the actual road to be able to get past on certain properties or cross first. So keep doing the zigzag in order to even get down the road that the buildings are. And I just think it's becoming an issue where, you know, we have one particular property that's just really commoditized and has a domino effect where everyone thinks it's a
Okay.
So,
I heard two concerns there. One was the speeding, again, on Forest Hill, to make sure, what block on Forest Hill, 300 block on Forest Hill?
300 is the park between Dixie and Hall.
Okay. So the speeding there, but also it appears that cars are being parked illegally, whether it's on front lawns and stuff. So Tiffany, let's make sure that we, make sure she has your name and email address. We will have the police look into both of those situations again. We'll have them do a speed study on Forest Hill, particularly that portion, and then we will, if there are cars that they see that they observed illegally parked, we will certainly issue citations for that and try to discourage that activity. Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering, with all the new construction in the old neighborhoods, I'm wondering what the process would be to look at designation for a historic neighborhood. How can I get information about designating a neighborhood as historic?
Okay. There is a process. We can get you that information. You can probably dig around on the website, but we will make sure we get you. Frederick, a mentor, is in charge of historic designations, and so we will get you that information as to what the process is. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question about the Washington project.
The Washington project. Oh, the street project. Okay, I'm sorry.
You know, a few years ago, we had our monthly meetings, and we had a different person from each committee come and tell us in detail everything that's been done. We had an arborist come in, and he examined every single tree in the area, and everything was documented. And it was all proceedings, and this was like a few years ago. It was supposed to begin like in October. We had all the changes that we wanted then. And then it was supposed to start like all in January. Nothing happened. I never heard anything about it. I asked people at different times what was going on with that. When it was presented to us, they said we don't even need any bonds, that our infrastructure is like 100 years old, and everything is, the money is there for it, it's allocated to our project. And then it just came to nothing happened.
Okay, give Tiffany the specific address. The question was what's going on with the Washington Road project. It seems that promises have been made and not kept.
And also, like, we're going to have lighting in the beginning, it was all included, and now they're starting to do some work that's taking forever.
Okay.
The whole project was supposed to be like a year and a half or something, and in a year, they've only done one street. They're having
Okay.
this problem.
We will find out.
Yeah.
We will find out the status of that. Okay, Bill, you have a question or?
I do have a question.
Okay, that's fine. Then we got to go to the gentleman in the back. He had his hands up first, but go ahead. You have the mic.
Speaking of Washington, the bridge construction has caused tremendous damage on Washington, south of Southern.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's mentioned, there's been talk about repaving parts of Southern Boulevard, Sligo Drive, and others, but is the city going to include the Washington Avenue, Washington Road repaving, and perhaps some of the Worthport North and a couple of others, when all of this is done? It's been badly damaged during the bridges.
All right, let me check into that and see where that ranks on, we have capital improvement project plan and we'll see where it ranks, but we will certainly get back to you on that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dennis Carey, president of the Sunshine Park Neighborhood.
Okay.
Regarding the historic designation on March 22nd, we're going to be making our case to such a designation for our neighborhood, which is one of the oldest in West Palm Beach. It's March 22nd at 5 p.m. You're welcome to join us. Okay? The other issue I want to present to you is our neighborhood association meeting is coming up. We're going to be discussing a speeding problem on Georgia Avenue between Belvedere and not far down the street right after that. The first roundabout is. The reason why we're concerned is right before the first roundabout is a school bus stop. And there are a lot of kids that are out there in the morning, and we have a real problem with speeding there. I've had even one resident from Mayoral Park ask me to talk to either you or the commissioner, see if we can do something about that.
Okay.
And even some residents have put up, stop those speed signs on their property.
All right. All right, get that specific road section to Tiffany, give her your name and email address. All right, and we will, I will check with staff and we will get back to you. Commissioner.
I just wanted to say thank you so much to the mayor for coming out there, because from me very often, but I'm so glad that you and I appreciate Mayor King for passing on all the speeding concerns, because that is a growing concern. And the mayor mentioned in his opening remarks that next Wednesday, the chief of police is hosting his every other month meeting. And at the last meeting, speeding was also an issue, and so he has invited the mayor's traffic engineer to be at that meeting. And so I would encourage you all to attend so that that will reiterate what the mayor is going to pass along. It's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Cox
Science
Science.
Center. Yes, thank you for that information. Any other questions? Well, listen, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thank you for coming out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Stay safe, everyone.